and welcome to the End in Mind podcast. I'm your host, Caitlin, the owner of Meraki Media Management. The End in Mind is a place where we come to share stories, tips, and strategies of many entrepreneurs, creatives, business owners, and just some people that aren't willing to live the traditional lifestyle. We talk about how to live outside of the box today and how to incorporate what really is important in your life to keep that end goal always in mind. Again, if you would like to reach out to me in any type of way, you can find me on Instagram at Meraki_media_management, and I hope to hear from you all soon. Thanks so much and enjoy our show. What is up, party people? Welcome back to the End in Mind podcast. I am your host, Caitlin. Super stoked to be here with you guys today. I just want to make sure that my audio is good here. Okay. I think we should be good. But I'm just so happy to have you guys here. Thank you so much for listening to our show. And I am really excited to announce that we will be doing some more offerings come March. And a lot of these offerings are going to be kind of a group coaching approach. So if you have been waiting for me to share some type of service that would probably, work with a financial budget. As a solopreneur, I know that not having a lot of money when you first get started is definitely an issue, right? So this is going to be a really affordable program. It's going to be a monthly subscription, and basically you and I will get to meet live once a week, and we will discuss your content. We will discuss business issues that you are facing, and it will kind of be a group coaching forum. So you can join the call whenever, it works for you, and the whole 9 yards. With this subscription, you will also be gaining access to my course. So tons of information will be thrown your way, and we'll kind of guide you through that course together on the call. If there's any questions that come up, I found when I just did the course, it was really hard because I couldn't check in with my clients along the way. So I'm thinking that this type of program will be really beneficial for people. And I also know that when I first started Meraki, creating content was not at the top of my to-do list. So this will kind of force you to block, maybe 2 hours out of your week to really get your marketing down, because then we'll be getting on the call. So my thought is to kind of have a free write before the call, and then the call will help us all finalize that content and really start moving the needle. I think accountability is huge, and that will kind of be more of what this membership is for any type of business owner that's ready to invest in, that type of coaching. So if it's starting to feel aligned for you and you have a few extra questions, we will be launching this probably by the end of March. So if you have any interest, of course, send me a DM. I'm happy to discuss what I'm thinking with you guys, and your input is super helpful as I'm creating things like this, because I want it to be the most productive and offer the most amount of value that I possibly can to this community. So we haven't really sold a lot through this podcast. I've talked about my management packages and one-on-one coaching here and there, but this is what I'm thinking will be our big push for you guys, really just focusing on that accountability and almost forcing us to take some time for us and really self-care in the business, right? Because that always gets pushed off. At least for me, it does. And then last second, I'm, fumbling, trying to make everything work. So let's get into today's topic. This is actually a really exciting topic to discuss because Meraki has hit a new milestone on Instagram, some may say. We actually reached 3,000 followers not too long ago. Very, very excited about this. Even though I don't focus on the amount of followers that I have, just to see the community growing at such a rapid rate with ideal client followers specifically is really, really exciting. And when I first started Meraki, I remember dreaming about what it would feel like to have 3,000 followers. A lot of my clients they have those same types of emotions. And I want to validate those emotions, because even though we want to mindset shift out of having like more is the best, right? There is still an ego side to us as human beings. And since Instagram is an ego-driven app, I wanted to really give like what happens when you go viral, or what happens when you hit a milestone like this with followers. And I've had a few experiences like this. Let me just say that it is always glorified in your brain more than it actually playing out like in real time, right? I think a lot of things are like that. Like, people think they're gonna go viral and then they're gonna make all this money from going viral, and that's never how that works, in my opinion, at all. Most people that go viral have no clue how they are going to make money right after that situation. And getting brand deals and becoming an influencer is extremely time consuming. And we as business owners cannot be focused. Like, that's literally like running a whole nother business, because you're managing leads. You have to make sure you're making deals. The content has to get created. It has to get approved by the brand that you're working with. Stats are really heavily stressed in the influencer world, which I would debate is honestly not great for mental health, especially if you are a type of person that gravitates towards this podcast. Like, we tend to be more sensitive, right? Because we come from this feminine energy, and we're focusing on ourselves and our health and our wellness path, right? And sometimes social media can pull us off of that path, which you guys have heard me talk about time and time again. But really, when I thought I would reach 3,000 followers, I thought the business would be, like completely functioning on its own, and I would be sipping pina coladas in the middle of Bali, right? Like, we glorify starting a business. And that's one of the reasons why starting a business is so, that's so needed, right? Because if you don't have that outlook on it, this business can become very heavy very, very quickly. And that's not your fault, right? Like, that's just the way that this plays out most of the time. It's a lot of stress. It focuses a lot on personal growth. And if you don't put that personal growth first and you get hung up on something like followers, then what ends up happening with the viral spiral, as we call it, is you fall into this trap, right? You're only focusing on likes, you're only focusing on comments, and then you're not even focusing on the cash or the revenue that you're gaining in your business. And your first 3 years of business are so important, right? Because that's the time that you're making these connections that will hopefully impact your business for years to come. Like, I think I shared with you guys a few podcast episodes back, but I'm going to share it again. One of the clients that I was DMing with 3 years ago, when I started Meraki, just signed up for us with management. And she mentioned that I had DM'd her 3 years ago, and she's been following me ever since. She's from my local, community. We are now working together. I absolutely adore her. She has invited me to networking groups. Like, one thing leads to another. And that's what the end in mind is about, right? And that's what I want you guys to focus on. Like, even though the follower conversation will come during this podcast, like, that is not the goal of this podcast episode at all. And I want you all to think about, like, what are the connections that you're making today that are going to impact your business in years to come? Because that's how we have to think about business. My grandfather was an amazing entrepreneur in this sense, and he would say things like, never burn a bridge. And the reason why you never want to burn a bridge is because you don't know when you may cross paths with these people in business again, right? Now, I'm a huge advocate for hitting block and definitely, removing yourself from people that are not energetically meeting you at the same place. That's a different story. But let's say you're working with a client and something changes in their life, right? Like I've had a few clients that have had to cancel services with me because a loved one has gotten sick. They may need to invest in a new home, right? Or they may need to invest that money in a different part of their business. And as a business owner, that's their decision, right? That's their right. That's why we get into business. And I'm so proud of them when they eventually make that choice, right? And instead of getting frustrated or angry or panicking that I'm not going to be making the money that I did, I've really had to settle back in to remember, like, why am I doing this in the first place? And why in the hell would I want to work with someone that doesn't have the funds to work with me, right? They're going to get bitter. They're going to resent me. They're not going to be happy with the work because they know that they don't want to be allocating their funds to this. This has happened to me so many times with clients. Sometimes people in this social media space, they think they want a social media manager. And in actuality, they just want someone that's going to funnel leads to them at a rapid rate, which is not how marketing works at all. Marketing is a long-term process. That's why consistency is key in marketing. So this happens, right? And when you get into that follower funk and focusing on the followers, that's what normally ends up trickling out around this, right? Because you're like, well, I should be getting leads from social media and I'm not growing. And that's okay. Like, that's why you guys are listening to this podcast. You're taking action around what's not working in your life and you're moving it forward, right? You're educating yourself and you're sitting back and you're deciding how you want to approach this. And that's the best way that you can choose the right thing for you. Like, no coach can tell you exactly what to do. And that's why when clients come to me in these predicaments and they need to adjust things, I am the first to say absolutely whatever you need, right? Like, in my life, in my business, have been through a lot of shit, right? And if you don't have people supporting you and telling you, you need to follow your intuition, you need to do what's most important for you, that will totally derail your goals, right? And the track that you're on. So that quick spiel is now over. I love you guys. And I just don't want you to like compare yourself to me because obviously I've had a business for 3 years now and I work in social media and we just hit 3,000 followers. Like, in the grand scheme, I could actually be really upset about these numbers. But instead, I am freaking in love with these numbers because we're growing at a steady rate of ideal clients specifically. Like, I've had more ideal clients trickle in these past few months as followers than I've ever had before, which is so exciting. So I'm sure that you guys are feeling some type of way, like with the algorithm changing. I'm seeing all these people getting really upset. And just remember, if you're showing up and you're offering value and educating people, they will find you. And it's the type of content that you're putting out maybe that's not resonating, right? So that's when something like our membership program would be a great place so that you and I can discuss, like, we'll look at your insights on the call. We'll discuss what type of content you need to be putting out there because maybe you're just not sure, right? And that's okay too. It just is about getting help right along the way because I've had many, many coaches and I still am working with coaches all of the time based around this type of like mindset work. So don't feel, intimidated or upset about your following number. Now, in reality, I had thought that Meraki would be completely running on its own by now, right? And it's not. It's not at all, guys. Like, I am in the thick of it right now, right? Like, you guys follow me on IG. I'm about to go on vacation next week. On Saturday, I'm going to Puerto Rico with my family. So I am trying to prep right ahead of time, all of this content, 3 weeks of content. That's a lot of content for me to be editing, making sure it's going out to my clients on time. Like, it's a whirlwind, right? When you take a week off from your solopreneur business, it's a lot of pressure. And with this 3,000 follower deal, I'm thinking 3 years ago, like, oh, I'll be able to take a vacation whenever I want. That's funny, right? That's actually funny because your first 3 years of business is where you're growing, right? That's what I've just mentioned in the beginning. Like, that's where you're making these connections. That's where these situations are happening that are going to impact you in years to come. So now I've realized, even though I maybe am not at a place where my business is running on its own, and I really feel like I am still in the thick of like the everyday to do, this is still what I want, right? I still want this business. I still love talking to you guys. Like some days when I feel so drained and so exhausted from content writing, I just think about you all. Like I think about my podcast. I think about this new membership we're going to launch. I think about how I'm going to scale and expand my business in a way that's going to feel good for me, right? Because when I started Meraki, I never thought that I would be this heavily into management. But when things like a global pandemic hit, you have to be flexible as a business owner. You have to be willing to take on tasks that maybe you hadn't idolized for yourself before, and just know that it's just for a time being, right? It's just for a short period of time so that you can build the business, so that you can step back, right? It's that coming back to that end in mind always, right? Because it's not always going to be linear. You know, Meraki has been through so much in 2020. I'm like, how the hell is it only February? Like, seriously. You guys come here for the honest truth. Like, so much shit has happened, people. Literally, so much shit in business. People are in such a weird place, and it's trickling into every part of their lives, right? And we're all human. So now I'm just really trying to go easy on myself, not hold myself to this like really high standard. I'm just gonna be present with the people that I care about, my clients, my family. Going on this vacation with my family is going to be so much fun. And that's what I'm thinking about, right? All this work that I'm putting in now will be able to give me that freedom. And that's how I want you all to think about your business, right? This work that you're doing a year in is going to give you that freedom in life. How many people at 25 years old, just starting a business, can tell you that I'm going to take a week off? I don't have to check in with anybody. Maybe I have to check my emails a few times. Maybe I'll story a little, but I don't have to, right? I'm taking time off. I mean, that's miraculous. And it's these small wins that we miss so many times, because instead of stepping back and realizing how far we've come, how much we've learned, we're thinking about the next goal. We're thinking about the next thing that we can be doing. We're so stuck in the next, the future, the money, right? It keeps coming back instead of just living in the present moment, where we can actually get so much more done. And then we have more freedom to come, right? Like so many business owners my age work all weekends, right? They work on the weekends, and I'm not judging you at all if that's something that you do. More power to you. But I knew that I needed balance, because if I started working weekends, then I'm working nights, then I'm working all day and all night. Like I have no boundaries because of that workaholic side of myself. But all this work came out of me starting Meraki Media Management. All of this work I have been doing is going to set my business and myself up for a more productive lifestyle. So even though, damn, this trauma work is fucking heavy, you guys. Like, this is some heavy shit. Like, that's why I'm exhausted, right? Like, I'm changing the patterns in my brain. I'm literally redirecting my neurons in my brain. It is so exhausting. But what will be the outcome? I will be more present. I will be able to meditate, feed my lifestyle that I actually want to be growing, instead of focusing on the 3,000 fucking followers, right? Because that community is what's gotten me here. And even if there were only 10 of that community and I was still doing this work, I would still be so proud and so happy of how far I've come, right? Because this has changed my entire life. It's changed everything about who I am, and I could not be happier with who I am today. I just want you guys to know, like, I see you, I feel your pain, I resonate with it, and you all deserve to have the lifestyle that you want and to be able to find this balance with social media. And it sometimes isn't doable alone, right? Like, if I didn't have these coaches that I'm working with, if I didn't have Sean pulling me out to dinner and telling me that I can't bring my phone with me, like, I would probably not be where I am, right? It's the people that you surround yourself with as well. And that's a lot what's going to be talked about, like, in this membership that I'm starting. I'm just so passionate about this, and I want to really offer some help where you all can communicate back with me, right? And I'm not just talking into this mic. So that is the end of this podcast episode for today. I love you guys. I hope you have an amazing week. I am going to record my next 2 episodes right now so that I am prepped for my vacation. I am so stoked. I will probably be sharing with you guys a few reels. One of my very best friends, who is also in business, is going with me on this trip. So maybe I'll even ask her to record a podcast together while we're there, because she just has such amazing input. She's in the real estate world, so she could bring a lot to the table and discuss a lot about the things that I'm focusing on to build wealth, right? And build sustainable income to come, instead of always focusing on like the one-on-one clients. Like, there's so much more to life and making money than just even your business, and having those multiple streams of income is so important. So I'm definitely gonna have her on soon. Let me know what you guys think about that. If you wouldn't mind leaving us a review, you know how much I love you all and appreciate that a million times over. We will be launching these giveaways again that we have done in the past. I have just been so crazy that I have to get to this vacation, and then we will revisit it. But I love you guys, and I will talk to you next week. Thank you so much for listening to The End in Mind. I would like to remind you all, if you haven't yet reached out to me on Instagram, we are at Meraki_media_management. It will be in our show notes as well. If you would like to reach out to me, we always offer free coaching through Instagram based around our Instagram training and our business Instagram practices. If you need any type of support, please do not hesitate to reach out to me there. And we also offer several different types of consulting and training packages if you're looking for a little bit more in-depth tips. So thank you all for listening in, and of course, I want you all to keep the end in mind as you continue with your day and or work week. Have a great week, and I will see you all next time.